today's all about grit. To me, the grittiest thing possible is entrepreneurship. So I started with a tweet that I posted back in September. Entrepreneurship is the mental equivalent of extreme sports. So do we have any entrepreneurs here? Yes, awesome. So this is what it feels like for those of you who aren't entrepreneurs. It's a wild ride. It's crazy hard. It feels really cool while you're up there. My first business ever, that's my brother and I, on our first capital risky investment, which was buying that tractor. This was Earthworks Lawn Care. As Anita said, my most recent business is Design Museum Boston. Some pictures from our exhibitions. This is an exhibition in Fort Point. We do stuff for kids, and we just have a lot of fun putting the Design Museum all over the city. I get to teach entrepreneurship as well. I teach at BABSON College, and I've just become fascinated with the whole startup process, particularly the very, 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 very early stage. Because this is the stage when you have an idea, which is great, but you have no money, you have no time, you have no resources, and it just can be this jumbled mess of insanity. So I created the 10 laws. So these are the ones you should follow if you're in this stage and you want to make it out alive, although I can't make any promises. So here we go. So number 1, paradoxical commencement. I get asked a lot, when is the right time to start my business? And I usually say, you'll know it's the right time once you've started. Yeah, there's the paradox, good. So there's never a good time, right? The right time is when you overcome the fear and the doubt, and when you just have to get your idea out there so bad that you begin. And so for me and my co-founder Derek, we were at a design conference, and it was an open mic session, and he just grabbed the mic and started talking about the museum like it already existed. And to this day, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen another human being do. I'm usually the worrier, and so instead of worrying, I tried to build my safety net. So I saved money, I built my network, and I really built my skills so that I was just super employable. So when my wife asks me, like, what happens when the museum just fails? I'm like, I'll just go get another job. Trust me. So number 2, speaking of wives and spouses, identify unconditional support. So if you have a co-founder or a founding team, you already are doing this. But if you don't, you gotta be realistic. It's too hard to do this alone. You gotta find someone that you can trust, someone that is just as passionate as you, and that you can really build something together with. There's my wife, yes. Major points. If you can't find that someone, at least find someone who can support you and have your back. So, there she is. She's an entrepreneur as well, though, so. The truth of the matter is, if you can't convince at least one person to work on this with you, how are you gonna convince thousands or millions of people to buy what you're selling? So that's pretty key. Number 3. Incremental risk mitigation. I love this one. So there's this myth, there's our little guy again, that you have to drop everything professionally, financially to start your business, which I do not subscribe to. I'm all about building a bridge to where I want to go. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how I did this. I had an awesome job at Bose Corporation designing speakers, like the dream job, paid me well, gold-plated. I think I even had a 401k. That was amazing. Then I became the chapter chair of the Professional Organization for Industrial Designers, really grew my network. This is all at the same time. I started teaching at night at Wentworth Institute of Technology, and then I decided I'm going to start this museum in my free time. And on top of that, I said, if I'm going to start this museum, I better learn how to run a business. So I went back to school at night to get my MBA. So this was my life in 2009. You know, about a year went by, and I was like, okay, now I got to really start working on the museum more. It needs more of my time. So I quit. There goes the 401k and all that. I think I still have it. It still exists somewhere. But I started teaching more. I still had to pay the bills, so I freelanced. After that, the museum started to earn money. It was really cool. Paid myself. And I stopped freelancing. And then finally, I was able to stop teaching. And this summer, I will graduate from Babson College and reach the promised land, which is one job. So I can't wait for that. Thanks. Speaking of learning, number 4, distribute your ignorance. So there's absolutely no excuse on earth not to be able to figure out how to do something. I mean, there are so many resources to teach you. And let's just forget about the internet for just a split second. There are books that you can learn from. I mean, I had no idea how to run a nonprofit. So I read literally that book from cover to cover, and I was like, okay. I wasn't an expert, but it got me going. And now I read literally anything and everything that I can get my hands on. Oh, you can go to school for this? It's amazing, seriously. And I think the most important resource I have are my mentors. And I collect them like baseball cards because they're so awesome. They teach me things, I lean on them, they tell me when I'm way off the rails, and it's really good. Number 5, we're halfway there. Consistent, deliberate momentum. So it's up to you to use every success that you have to propel you to the next success. So, just like our little guy. So if you have 3 meetings today and your first meeting is really awesome, you should be talking about that meeting in the next 2 meetings, right? You should be always celebrating and talking about each success because people want to support winners like our little guy. Oh, I love this one. I'm a designer, so early amplified presence, number 6. And there they are. These are the refrigerator magnets that we made for our lawn business. My grandmother still has these on her refrigerator. I don't know what happens when you call that phone number, so we're out of business. At this stage, even though it's so early, you can have an amazing brand. You can have the brand that you would wish to have 10 years from now. And that is going to help you chase that feeling. I mean, figure out what it takes to have the credibility that you need right now, whether it's a website or, in the case of a museum, apparently every museum has a tote bag. So we have tote bags, and so we're real. And you can be too. Number 7, this one's very important, respectful opportunism. So at this stage, remember, you have nothing except your idea. So you need to lean on, leverage, and just squeeze everything, everyone to make these things happen. But you don't have to be a jerk, right? So a couple examples of this, because you want to make these successes happen all around you. If people who are with you can have success as well, they're going to help you more. So year 1 of the museum, we had no money, no plan, and we had a cool concept. And my boss at Wentworth said, would you teach a class about exhibition design? And I said, yeah, I can do that. They'll pay me to teach the class. So what I did with his approval was I made the class a giant group project, and the client was me. Right? So my students designed an exhibition for Design Museum Boston, and they built it, they installed it. I mean, the students had this amazing real-world experience. I got paid. Wentworth was super happy, and the museum had an exhibition. I mean, it was incredible. And so we do the same thing with we have a new store, a museum store. We're a tiny nonprofit. We can't afford to buy inventory. Talk about risk. So we partnered with Room 68, which is a small retailer for design products. We sell their products in our store, and we split the rewards. It's a win-win. That's where that saying comes from, I guess. So number 8, we're getting there. Unwavering, deliverable focus. So when you first start, there's so many distractions and people telling you all these different things. Just make it about your product and make it about that first, signpost, that first milestone. For us, it was about our first exhibition. It was just like, get to that proof of concept. And we had our first exhibition at Boston City Hall back in 2010, sorry. We're almost home. Always unfinished business. So don't even bother starting a museum or any business if you value work-life balance, right? So just, buy into it. You're not going to have a life. It's never over. You're the boss. You're just going to have to keep working hard. You can also give your family and friends a heads up about it so they know where you went. And last, too late. I'll absolutely love change. So in the early days, things are going to be changing all the time. I lived it. When I started Design Museum Boston, I wanted this. I wanted it so bad. I wanted the building. I wanted to be like the marble columns, the whole thing. And this was the recession time. It was 2009, and no one would give me money to make this happen. And so instead, we switched our model. And now we put the museum all over. So we occupy and activate other spaces. And it turns out it's a really cool model. And if we would have just stayed, really stubborn, we never would have been able to collaborate with all these really cool people and organizations and work with all these really cool spaces and constraints. So I guess my takeaway is always be ready for surprises and changes and have fun. Thanks.